All right, good morning, fifth grade. Hopefully, everybody is all wide awake, bright eyed, and bushy tailed because this is going to take a little bit longer. We're actually going to combine lessons today. We're combining lessons 5 and 7. But when it comes time to do the assignment today, I still want you to do lesson number 5, okay? But we're going to be covering naming and comparing whole numbers, money, and ordinal numbers. So we better get going. So, to start off with, when you have to name money, look at either side of the decimal point, if there is one. Name the number on the left of the decimal and say dollars. So here I have the digits 4, 7, and 8. What I mean by that, 4, 7, and 8, you'd actually say 478, right? So $478. Then pronounce the decimal point and. So $478 and then name the number on the right of the decimal and say cents. $478 and 13 cents, right? I don't think there's a kid out there who usually doesn't have a pretty good handle on this. But there's a few things you do know about that word and. When you're naming numbers, you only say and if there's a decimal point. This number, 113, you pronounce it 113, not 113. Kids will sometimes stumble on this. You only say the word and if there's a decimal point. So let's jump right into some examples right now because that was pretty easy. Here they're going to ask us to use words to name, right? So just like we said, look at either side of the decimal point. Start on the left side first. I have the digits 4 and the digit 1 and the digit 9. Well, I wouldn't say 419. What's going to be the real name of that number? You would actually say 419, wouldn't you? Dollars would come next. Now I have the decimal point pronounced and. Now I better say the next two digits on the other side, which is 25, and then we say cents. $419 and 25 cents. Let's keep moving on, okay? Check out this one. Do I have a decimal point at all? No, I don't. So I just have to name these three digits. 101. What is the actual name of that number? Would be 101, not 101. Be careful about that. And let's do one last one here. I have a 6 and a 0 to start off with. That would be pronounced 60. Now I'm going to name dollars. I do have a decimal point, so I'm allowed to say and. And check out this one. A 0 and a 2. You wouldn't go up to say to somebody, hey buddy, can I borrow 2 cents? You're just going to say 2. Now name your cents. $60 and 2 cents. And let's try this last one. Use digits to write 342. So 3 in the hundreds place, 4 in the tens place, and 2 in the ones place, right? That would be how to name 342. Let's try one more here. Using digits to write. Here I have $602. How am I going to write $602? Well, I better start with the dollar sign, right? And now 602. 602, because 602 is 6 100s, 0 10s, and 2 1s, right? There's 602. I have an and, so I better put in my decimal point. And now 4 cents. Cents, when it's written in dollar form, you always have to use 2 digits, right? So I don't want to put just 4. That wouldn't be right. I have to go 0, 4. $602.04. Check out our old friend again, and be careful. I saw some people this morning just trying to copy the answer. We're at the stage right now. I'm going to keep talking about them for a little bit longer, but I'm not handing out answers. I'm making them slightly different. So let's check this out. They're asking us again to write a rule that describes, and we always want to find out where the arrow's pointing. How to find the number of dimes. That's where my arrow is going to stop at. So I'm going from dollars to dimes this time, starting at 1 and going to 10, or starting at 2 and going to 20. We're starting with a 3 and going up to 30, and so on, and so on, and so on, right? So what's going to be my rule this time? I don't think I'm even dividing like I have been the last couple of days. What am I doing with a 1 to make it equal 10? Or what am I doing with a 2 to make it equal 20? Have you gotten it figured out yet? We are not dividing, we are multiplying, right? Multiplying by what? This time the rule is we're multiplying by tens. 1 times 10 is 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 times 10 is 30. 4 times 10 is 40, and so on, correct? That wasn't too tough. But that's not going to be the answer on today's lesson, I guarantee you that. Check out our next one here. So what number of dimes represents $8? Well, if my rule was multiplying by 10 each time, and I have $8, we already said the rule was multiply by tens, right? 8 times 10 is going to give you what? What is 8 times 10? Boy, I hope 5th graders know this one. I know we haven't talked a lot about multiplying, but you certainly should be able to pull that one off. It's 80. Check out this one. I'm not too worried about your ability to order numbers, but I am concerned about some people's reading. So let's take a look. The cost of fuel to heat a home for 5 months is shown below. Here they have the month, here they have the cost. In November they spent $141 to heat their home. In December it cost them $315. In January it was $373 to heat their home. And in February they spent $264, right? But check out the next sentence. It says, order the months, but also check out what it says now. From most expensive to least expensive. So when you write out your answer, you're not listing out the numbers. They want you to actually order the months. So let's go and take a look. What was our most expensive month? The most expensive month was $373, but we're not writing $373. They want us to order the months. So that month was January, right? What's next most expensive after January? Looks like $315. And I'm ordering months, so that would be December. After December, the next expensive month ahead was 264, and that happened in February, right? And our last month right now is going to be the $141, and that happened in the month of November. So again, I'm not concerned about anybody's ability to order. I'm more concerned about story problems that you have to always read carefully and pay attention to what they're asking you to do. Okay, now I'm moving into some stuff from lesson 7. So sometimes numbers are larger than 3 digits, because just on lesson 3 we learned about the first 3 places in place value, right? We learned about the ones and the tens and the hundreds. Now I always like to call these the no name group, because you don't say any name after them, you just say whatever the number is, right? If you put in a comma, the next 3 places of place value is 1,000, 10,000, and 100,000. Anytime you have a number in one of these place values, you will always say 1,000 after it. And it always just goes ones, tens, hundreds. 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. The next 3 places that we'll learn in about 40 lessons will be 1 million, 10 million, and then 100 million. After that, it's going to be 1 billion, 10 billion, and 100 billion. It's always based on ones, tens, and hundreds. So the rule for pronouncing and writing the numbers is you want to look at each group at a time. Look at the 1,000 group first, and then the no-name group. First, say the name of the number, then say the name of the group, if there is one. No name, I call it that because we don't say a group name after that, right? And I always say this, if there's a comma after the word, put in a comma after the number, and vice versa, which means do it backwards. If there's a comma after the number, you also put in a comma after the word. So let's take a look at what I mean by this. Look at each group at a time. The 1,000 group first. In the 1,000 group, I have a digit 4 and the digit 2. So say the name of the number, which is 42, and then say the name of the group, 42,000. Now let's go over to the other part. Here I have a 0, 1, and a 9. What's the name of that number? That would just be 19, right? 19 in the no names group. So it's the no name group, so all you have to say is 19. Say the name of the number, then the name of the group. 42,019. Let's do a little more practice with this, shall we? Here they're asking us, use words to name. Now check this out. The first thing you might notice, you have 5 digits in this number, but they didn't put a comma in there just to make you think a little bit extra. And how to put in commas, I always just remember going at the end, going 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3. So start at the back of the number, every 3 digits from the back. 1, 2, 3, comma. All right, that's what's separating my numbers right now, right? Now remember the rule. Look at each side or group at a time. Name the number, name the group. So I have the digits 5 and 2 here. How do I say 5 and 2? I say it 52, right? Now name the group, 52,000. There's a comma after the number, so I need a comma after the word. Now let's do the other side. I have the digits 3, 7, and 0, right? How do I pronounce that? 370 would be 370. And 370 is in the no name group, so I don't have to say anything after that. 52,370 is how to pronounce him. Let's try another one just like this, okay? Here again, they're not putting a comma in. That's not a typo. They're making sure you're thinking. We get at the end of the number every 3 digits. 1, 2, 3, comma. Once I have it separated, it's a whole lot easier to read, right? Say the name of the number, then the name of the group. So I have the digits 1 and 2. A 1 and a 2, and every 5th grader should know we pronounce that 12, right? But say the name of the group, 12,000. If I have a comma after the number, I need a comma after the word. Now let's do the other side. 002. Would you ever go up to somebody and say, hey buddy, can I borrow $002? $002? No, you wouldn't. You would just say 2. That number is pronounced 12,002. Not too tough if you break it down into steps. So now I'm going to go the opposite way. Here it's saying use digits, and by now we better know digits is just a fancy word for the numbers 0 through 9, right? So I have 150,000. Well, 1,000 is my group name, right? Here's my numbers. 150. I'm only looking on the left side of this comma here. So how do I write 150? 150,000. If there's a comma after the word, there's a comma after the number. Let's go and try the other side now, right? 35. Now, a lot of times, kids will go and try to do this. They'll write in a 3 and they'll write in a 5. But you have to have a digit on all 3 places. If this is messing you up, I would highly recommend just writing yourself the 6 lines with a comma in the middle of them, right? Because you can't put 35 right there. That's going to be wrong. 35 actually means 3 10s and 5 1s, right? We covered that the other day. So what digit am I going to have sitting here in the hundreds place? How many hundreds do you have in 35? You have 0 hundreds, right? 150, comma, 035. 150,035. Again, if these confuse you, I highly recommend just writing yourself out 6 lines until you feel a little more confident in it. And place value is sometimes easier for some kids than others. So let's try this one. We are now going to be comparing with some larger numbers than we were comparing before. Always look first at the thousands. Here's 23,000 and here's 23,000. Hey, it's a tie. So move over to the no name group. Here's 465. Here's 654. Crocodile's mouth opens up to the bigger number. Can you actually pronounce this comparison? This will say 23,465 is less than 23,654. Another thing to talk about. Numbers that are used to name position or order are called ordinal numbers. And there's a big old chart on page 42 if you ever need to go back at it. And the ordinal numbers are like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, so on and so on, right? Kids are usually pretty good about knowing who comes in first, who came in third. So they just don't usually know this terminology that they're called ordinal numbers because they show the order of the numbers. So you might have to run into problems like this. Tom was the fourth person in line in a line of 10 people. How many people were in front of Tom? How many people were behind Tom? My advice: draw a picture. I don't care how good of an artist you may or may not be. Everybody can draw a stick man, right? Draw a picture to help you think. I put my front of the line here. This guy's the first one in line. Here's my second. He's third. And it says Tom is the fourth person in line. This guy is Tom. I'm just going to put a little T here. So, how many people were in front of Tom? If this is the front of the line, now it gets really easy, right? If you have those little stickmen drawn out. 3 people are in front of him. How many people are behind Tom? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not too tough if you draw out the picture. And about the last one I think I want to talk about today. I had a kid years ago who just freaked out over a problem like this. It says, Bill was the 9th person in line. How many people were in front of Bill? And this former student of mine was insistent that he could not figure this out because he did not know how many people were in line. So, Bill's 9th, right? We don't really care about how many people were in the line because if you're 9th, how many people are in front of you? You got somebody first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 6th, 7th, and 8th. If you're 9th, you have 8 people in front of you, don't you? You don't need to know how many people are in that line. Alright, so that is all I have today. You might want to scratch a piece of paper and a pencil to help you out with the Socrative quiz. Take your time and good luck.